the solution is take the policy, go back the way it was, and then send us a bill and let everybody vote on it. I mean, it's that simple. But it's not a one-way street here. There's two sides to this. So let's work this out. Let's let the American people, their representatives, vote on what they're trying to do with this bill that they changed with a memo.
Is there any middle ground between your position and...
No middle ground.
Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville making clear there is no middle ground in his increasingly heated standoff with the Department of Defense. Tuberville is currently blocking the Senate from confirming any Pentagon nominations because he disagrees with the Department of Defense decision to reimburse service members forced to travel out of state for abortions. Tuberville's Tubber tantrum isn't just holding up the Senate's work. It's also putting American national security at risk, because the same Republicans who talk about keeping our military strong are now starving it of the personnel it needs to function.
Just look at what's happening over in the Senate. Senator Tuberville is dealing devastating blows to the Biden regime's woke military. Instead of just going along to get along, he is using the position voters entrusted him with to jam up Biden's woke agenda. I am proud to stand with his efforts, and I know the American people stand with him as well.
This should be a rude awakening for Republicans who believe a nonstop culture war can be contained to just social issues, because Tuberville's war on woke is now at risk of threatening U.S. strategic readiness. And North Carolina Congressman Jeff Jackson isn't having it.
The notion that all of these positions should remain vacant because one senator objects to the Defense Department's travel policy regarding service members who get an abortion is a perfect example of letting culture war politics impact our military. The clearest price yet was paid this week as the leader of the Marine Corps retired. And then Congress tried to replace him with his appointed successor, General Eric Smith, and the senator from Alabama blocked that replacement. The Marine Corps is now without a confirmed leader since the first time since 1910.
Now, it may concern you that in an increasingly unstable world, America is now facing a historic level of military unpreparedness. Well, get ready to feel even worse, because a new government report shows that 40% of the U.S. submarine fleet is out of commission. And just hold on, because it gets worse. Because the military is now facing one of its worst recruiting crises in history. The situation has gotten so bad that a record number of new veterans are urging their families not to join the military. So the subs don't work, we don't have a military commandant at the Marine Corps for the first time in a century, and the Army's running out of people. But guess what Republicans think is the biggest problem facing our military? Take a look.
The Biden administration is so serious about prioritizing so-called equity that no one should have a problem with my amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which would require anyone who identifies as a man to register for the Selective Service. If these folks want to be treated like men, they need to act like men. I don't support the woke agenda, as you know. I'm fully against it. But if Democrats want to play ball, then let's play some ball. Let's see what excuses they come up with for opposing this plan. It puts some real responsibility on the folks.
Those folks Congressman Burchett is talking about are transgender Americans, and House Republicans want them banned from serving in the military, which doesn't make much sense because the Army would absolutely love to have just about anyone right now. But there is one thing Republicans don't want to talk about: how much our military is spending on delicious snow crab. Congressman Summer Lee tells the tale.
Mr. Tenackley, how much did the Department of Defense spend on snow crab and Alaska king crab in 2018?
I do not have that amount.
According to Open the Books, it was $2.3 million. Do you know how much the Pittsburgh City Council spends each year serving the county's unhoused population? Only $1.2 million, but they're certainly not being served Alaska king crabs.
The snow crab situation is weird enough. But then factor in how much the Pentagon spends every year to make sure the military's top men can use their top men.
Mr. Tenackley, how much on average does the military spend on Viagra each year?
I don't have that figure, ma'am.
About $41.6 million. Do you know how many bridges in my district of Pittsburgh could be repaired with that amount? About two. The rebuilding of the Fern Hollow Bridge, which of course collapsed the day that President Biden happened to be coming to Pittsburgh, cost about $25.3 million to rebuild.
America's military is clearly facing real challenges, from maintaining its own infrastructure to recruiting a new generation of soldiers. Republicans like Tommy Tuberville are only making that problem worse by disabling as much of the Department of Defense as they can. Tommy Tuberville may think he's just performing for the right-wing media cameras, but he's endangering American national security in the process, and the entire Republican Party is more than happy to help. Voters should remember that next year. Did you know Republicans are still trying to figure out what their Hunter Biden conspiracy theory is? Check out this video to learn a little bit more. And as always, leave a comment below so you can let me know what I should cover next.